Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Common Threads podcast here with David Allen, and I've been looking forward to this episode for a long time. As soon as I reached out to a good friend of mine just to see if this would happen, the one and only Curt Wootton, Pittsburgh Dad. You have done so much, not only for the city of Pittsburgh, but importantly for me, just to kind of let everybody know how our relationship really started. It was just randomly reaching out to you through my network and to see if you'd be willing to take part in our annual fashion show that we've started. And from that point moving forward, that very first time I had a chance to meet with you, you just treated me extremely well, and I felt it was easy to become friends with you. And at that stage in my business, I was 2 years in, and I really had nothing going on. It was just really starting things.
Hey, you had some nice samples in a van. I thought you were, you had more than I ever knew about fashion, so you were way ahead of the game.
So I played it a little bit there, but what I mean by that is I just appreciate everything you've done for me, and it's been so rewarding to become a friend of yours and to see what you continue to strive and to achieve in your life. And as I'm kind of building my brand, alongside you from a distance, I understand what I'm going through on a day-to-day basis with building a brand from nothing and trying to create something from nothing. And then I am fortunate to see what you have done in such a short amount of time and the direction that you could take this and continue to take this. And I think that's the big thing that I wanted to get on this show, and we'll discuss it throughout, but there's so much more than you've done than just creating a person, right? You've created an opportunity for yourself to have an income through that, and many other things, right?
Oh, yeah, we've been very fortunate because at the start of this wasn't ever planned. It's just become, it grew out of nothing and organically has grown into what we've built in the last. We're going to go beyond 10 years here in October. That's crazy. We couldn't be more thrilled, and we're happy to be, especially doing it the way we want to do it in our hometown. Chris Prexta is my co-creator. I say we, that's who I mean.
Yeah, of course.
So we've been doing it in our hometown, making people laugh, and being true to the Pittsburgh roots. So we're having a blast.
Yeah, how much fun is it? I mean, with Pittsburgh, obviously with the city of champions and everything that we have going on here from a historic and proud part of the city, has a lot of that influenced and helped you kind of get success a little quicker, do you think?
I think anytime you can anchor yourself with, especially the sports teams or just the culture, Pittsburghers tend to be very they're traditional and they're loyal to all that. So we were lucky and fortunate enough to tap into this market that really wasn't this internet market of Pittsburgh fans that no one really had cracked yet. And we did that in a funny way with a character that we think kind of really represented a lot of how people in our age range grew up. So it kind of took off from there.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. We were talking right before we started recording, and I'm literally terrible with trying to do a Pittsburgh accent. And ever since you've kind of come on the scene, I've tried doing it, and it's
a lot of work.
It's a lot harder than I thought, which is maybe good for me because maybe I won't be a Pittsburgh dad at some point. I don't know.
It'll if you ever do have children, it'll just naturally it'll just enter your soul, and you'll just know where did I just say that? Don't do that. So there's different levels of Pittsburghese. For everyone, always sometimes we get a little hard time because they're like, well, your character doesn't really sound like Pittsburghese, but it's based on the way my dad talked. Yep. But if you really want to do the Pittsburghese, it's very stereotypical. We can do that too. You can talk like that if you just want to go down there. But that's the real extreme version. Yeah. So there's different levels, just like there's different levels of British accent with the Cockney and the RP. So it's you got to find what works for you.
Yeah, make it easy and whatever flows naturally. So you just kind of mentioned about mimicking your father and everything, and I think this is a great way to kind of really dive into the initial start of what you've accomplished and what you've built. So I guess take me back previous to actually coming up with the Pittsburgh Dad. Can you talk a little bit about your life growing up and, maybe a little bit about the family so we can kind of get an idea of what really cultivated this and then we'll start transitioning into how you came about doing this.
I grew up in I didn't grow up in downtown Pittsburgh. Primarily, I grew up in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, which is, well, I don't know, like half hour going east of Pittsburgh. You get down the turnpike and all that. That's when it used to cost 50 cents. They're gouging you now for too much money on the turn. What are they even? Those turnpikes don't even do nothing. They've been the same way for 100 years. Now it's $8 for what it cost 50 cents back now. But I grew up, just my father's kind of he was a disciplinarian, but he was also had a really great sense of humor. But I'll tell you, man, a lot of things aggravated him that my sisters and I would do growing up. Leaving lights on, opening the refrigerator, staring at the food, anything like that. Asking for the air conditioner to be put on, you name it. Things like just irritated him, and he let you hear about it at every step of the way. And he was intimidating.
Big guy or average size?
He's about 5'10". Yeah, and then he 215.
Oh, putting on the sandwiches.
As he got older, man, he was. He was intimidating. Just like he could be really fun, but man, if you pissed him off, he'd let you know. And as a kid, you're like a little kid. And you're like, oh, geez, I can't. I don't want to make Dad mad. Then you get older, and then you start to laugh at everything. It's like, are you still really saying this thing? Literally told me once that. It was wasting paper towels to clean up a spill. I'm like, then what the hell do you use paper towels for?
What's the purpose?
I don't even know why are they in here? He's like, oh, that's wasted. What are you doing? Go get a rag. Well, why do we have? I want to know what they're for then. Yeah. So it started. I remember even in college, I'd come home from college and he would still be doing the same, yelling at the same things, the cat throwing up here, or anything like that. I don't know. It got fun. It got to be funny for me. Yeah. I was just are you still? Are we allowed to swear on here?
Oh yeah, please feel free.
Are you still bitching about the same stuff all the time? He's like, what do you how do you think I run this house? Yeah. Oh man, he would. Okay, another thing. The hose, the nozzle on the hose,
the spigot,
the spigot. Yeah, well. If you turn the hose off, and then the nozzles, the hose water's running. But then, you don't turn the hose off, and it's just it's building up in the nozzle. Yep. Boy, he would just, if you left that on, oh my gosh, a couple drips would go out. He's like, "What? I can't even wait to see this water." It was just like that, man. But like I said, he got funny. My sister and I would laugh at him after a while, and he had a good sense of humor. So. And so that was kind of what it was growing up. Yeah, intimidated at first, but then kind of hysterical towards the end.
So my dad was a very similar type of person from a disciplinarian thing, and had the same quirks that would get him all the time. And then as you grow and as you age, and you realize there's nothing they can do it as you get older.
Yeah, because he wasn't beating us. Right. He just screaming.
See, my dad was beating me. Sorry about that, Dad, but it was a healthy beating that I wildly deserved. So
maybe he just needed to yell louder.
Yeah. Well, he yelled very, very loud as well. But I think it's interesting whenever you talk about a lot of the segments that you do, and you talk about the Pittsburgh side of. We all can relate to those things that our fathers have done. Mm-hmm. And is it just a Western PA thing? Is it a national thing? And obviously it's all over the country, right?
Right. It's just we have a little bit more quirkiness here, and
right.
When we look at it. The way that we grew up, it's honed in, but it's still universal throughout America. I think dads and moms too, getting upset with their kids. Yeah, it's funny.
And I'm sure you welcomed a little child in a couple years ago, and I'm sure you'll be doing the same things as she grows.
And it's my dad was very he had OCD, and so things had to be put away. So she'll be taking out a toy. I'm like, well, do we put the other toy back? We take our toy, put it away, and then we take out. And she's only 2, so she really doesn't get this. But I'm like a steam roller, like this, heading towards that, and I'm embracing it.
Good. Well, hopefully,
kids walking my grass. I'm like, come on, look at that. There's footprints all through the grass. Did you walk through the grass when the frost was on the grass? Because now that whole them steps through the frost. That's all. I got to reseed all that. I can't have nothing nice.
I'll be interested in hearing the first words as well, and maybe there'll be a Pittsburgh accent for her. Who knows?
She's talked, but she doesn't really have the accent yet. Yeah. So I'm sure she'll pick it up.
We'll keep working on it. So, as you go to college, what did you go to college for? What was the focus, or what did you want to do at that stage when you kind of first started going away?
Well, when I first went to West Virginia University. I followed in the footsteps of my sisters because it was just looked like a great time.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, "You have to go to college," and I was like, "Okay, if I have to go, I'm going to go somewhere and have a good time." So I really didn't know what I wanted to do down there, but I always had this like itch that I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to perform. And I never really embraced it in high school because I didn't care for the connotations of the theater department.
Sure.
I was like, I want to play sports, but that was just me being stupid. And then, got to college, and you start to like, you know what, I'm going to try things I really want to try, and found the theater department, loved it.
Did you find that going into school, or not until you got to college?
I got to college, and then I just discovered the theater department,
Yeah.
and it was full of great people. So I changed direction. I went to get my BFA in theater and acting. It was a great 4 years, and learned a lot, and graduated, and said I moved out west. So
out west to where?
California, Los
no
Angeles.
shit.
Yeah, right after, like a year after college, so I could save some money.
So you literally, it was, hey, I'm going to college. I fell in love with the theater side, and now I want to pursue what I'm doing. And obviously, California is probably number one or secondary to New York.
I wanted to be. Film always intrigued me more. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, and just the cinema at the time really, I think from a lot of people, just really grabbed you and sucked you in, and it was such a huge part of my life, and I wanted to be anything I could to be a part of that world too. So, did
you have any influences in your life, or not immediately in your life, but through television, people that role models you looked up to, or people that did stuff that you were really interested in?
Oh yeah, there's tons of like, I mean, I loved watching certain actors as I went through life, like your Harrison Ford. I was a huge Schwarzenegger.
He was incredible, yeah.
Schwarzenegger, but I also like comedy. I loved Married with Children. Yep. I loved watching Roseanne, Seinfeld. I just loved all of it. And then I actually had a teacher in my senior year in high school. My French teacher, she really like embraced my nuttiness and let me do films for the class as long as they were in French. So it was the first time the teacher's like, you can make little movies and whatever you want to do. So of course I did all these little comedies that were in French that no one ever got. Yep. So, and that really just helped me direct me to the part of life I wanted to go to.
Yeah. So college, you move out west, and where do you go from there? What's the next steps for you? Did you have something set up already?
No, I didn't have anything set up.
So you just said, I trust myself.
It was me and a couple buddies.
Yep.
Caravaned across the United States, did like a week and stopped all over the country. I think we went to Chicago, we went to Kansas City, we went to Vegas. Yeah. We did it all. Colorado, we went to Aspen.
Yep.
So it was a heck of a week, or maybe it was like 10 days. We got out there. We knew one person, so we stayed with him a couple nights, and we got our own place and started waiting tables and just trying it, man. It's rough. I wouldn't have done it if I was old, so I'll tell you that.
Well, it's so like the big thing I want to talk about there and highlight there is just the trust in yourself to do something. And I think that's what so many people are timid for, at least in when we were growing up. I think social media has glamorized that a lot more now to kind of be out and do what's best for you and give that a try, right? But it's still the difference from thinking and wanting to actually doing is it's not
you take a leap of faith, and you know all about it because you said you were working at a job and you're just like, I'm done with this, and I
got fired actually.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I was at a tipping point. I was in medical sales, and I was in a tipping point between the side hustle of the clothing was taking up too much time, and it was impacting the day job.
Okay.
And then the day job was impacting the growth of the clothing, and my boss just found out about what was happening. And I think there was an article in a segment on Sports Center where one of the wrestlers, Titus O'Neil, mentioned me being one of his tailors that he uses. Nice. And then my boss ended up finding out about that, then started looking into it a little bit more. And then what he did was he pulled my cell phone records because I had a couple bad months in January. It was a January, February, March. So it was typically a slower time for sales to begin with.
So you weren't giving it your all from his point of view. So he was like, that's enough.
Yeah, I was giving him about 10%. So
lucky for you, that's all you were giving him.
Yeah.
So it's the right direction for you.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. And that's the thing too is, I kept trying to figure out when was the right time to jump and when was the right time to go all in and figure it out. And fortunately, looking back, I was kicked to the side to have to actually just pull the parachute and figure it out. And to actually, in your position, to say, hey, I'm going to actually go and try this and I'm going to try to make something work and I'm going to put every effort I have to just figure this out. And I don't know which direction, I don't know where we're going to go, but I believe in myself enough that I'm going to do that.
And that's a hard thing to do. Like I said, when I went out there, I didn't know anything. I didn't have an agent. I went out there and just started mailing pictures and photos. Didn't get any calls. I happened to come across. And once again, here's like the best part about Pittsburgh is the fact that the connections I made in L.A. I met a group of guys that lived in the apartment below me, and I'm not like a big I'll go down and talk to everyone. I'm just not. But one night I was coming in from drinking. One of the guys were coming in from drinking, and he had a Roethlisberger jersey on. I mean, this is Roethlisberger's first or second year, and he's still quarterbacking.
Yeah.
So he's coming, and I go, "Is that a Roethlisberger?" Holy! And I'm like, "Go Steelers!" And he's like, "Yeah!" He's like, "Come down for a drink." And it turns out him and his buddies were all in the industry too, all my age. They were all from. One was from Elwood City. One was from Waynesburg, so they're all like out there trying to do the same thing. One was trying to do music, and the other was trying to be a director. So I got in with them, and we were making little type of student short films, and it's crazy. All the people that I really loved out there were all still from Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, because it's you and then you go to on Sunday you go to a Steeler bar and still you watch the games and there's just a crowd of black and gold.
Yep.
And then I make connections there. It's just it's the craziest thing, but it's the coolest thing.
Yeah, that's one thing about Pittsburgh, and I travel all over the country and I have for years for work, and now this career, and everywhere you go, that just Pittsburgh's one of those towns that nobody else has the feel that we do, and the camaraderie and the want to help each other too.
Absolutely, man. And that's why, man, if you go anywhere, you gotta bring some black and gold.
Got to bring a terrible towel on every flight.
I'm looking. If I go to the airport, I'm looking. I'm like, okay, I'll sit next to you.
How easy is it to spot the Pittsburgh gate when you're traveling and getting back to the airport?
Oh, gee, I came back. I came back from a trip after the Super Bowl, and they had one versus the Seahawks, and it was the whole gate was just completely covered in black and gold, and it was the greatest feeling in the world, man. I'll never forget it. Just talking to people.
Yeah.
One time, the whole back of the plane. Where was I coming back from L.A.? And the Steelers had just beat the Ravens, and the whole back of the plane was filled with guys that they were drunk, and we had just won, and they were just the most rowdiest bunch. But they didn't even get in trouble. Is the funniest thing. I was like, the Steelers just beat the Ravens. Let them go. They'll be okay.
A free pass for everybody. So whenever you're coming back from the night out at the bar or whatever, and you're drinking and you connect with those people from Pittsburgh, was that a sign of comfort for you as well? That said, hey, I made the right decision.
And I always tell people the same thing when I was out there and growing up in the area, the Greensburg and everything, and how I grew up. You go out there and it just doesn't feel the same. Nothing. The area doesn't feel the same. So you're looking for any nugget of home that you can cultivate and just hold on to. So and it's true, and that's how I lasted out there for 8 years. So
that's great. I did not know you were out there. I was out there,
but if I didn't have the people that I met and my Sunday ritual going to the Steeler game at the Steeler bar, I'd have been back way earlier.
Yeah. So what did you do after you had all the odds and ends jobs and whatnot? You're trying to piece things together. Was there anything that you had that was stable and actually was able to do you justice for being out there? Or
I mean, it was just I waited tables at TGI Fridays, in the Valley, which is now closed. I had a great schedule. So I was making enough to stay afloat and do what I wanted to do on my days off, but it's just I had an agent. I wouldn't get anything. They just dropped me. So it just I couldn't get in anything.
Yeah.
But I was still doing any type of short film, free, whatever. And that's the biggest thing. It's you're an artist and I'll do anything for free. Mm-hmm. You don't get paid for anything. He's like, oh, we'll give you a DVD of it. I'm like, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
That's fine with me. So you're like that. So tons of that kind of stuff, but never landed anything big. So we this is actually kind of going into how I came back.
Yeah.
So my co-creator and myself had done.
Was he out there with you?
No, he was still in Pittsburgh,
Okay.
and he wanted to move out there.
Yep.
Like his goal was to move out there and try to become like a director. And he and I had worked on a project called The Mercury Men. It's filmed in Pittsburgh. I came back to film it, and it was, we filmed up in the North Hills, and it's like an old serial like sci-fi type thing. And the Sci-Fi Channel picked it up for their web content. It was like they were starting to do like web series, which was new at the time. So it was funny because when we were filming that, it was such a long, once again, it was like a budget of $5,000. No one's getting paid. We're up all night. The shots are so complicated. The lighting's so complicated. It was taking hours and hours. So, just as an actor, you're in between shots. You're like, I can't fall asleep again because if I have to like be up and at 'em for this next scene. So I remember like between takes, as they're setting up lights and everything, I'm starting to do this character. Like I'm sound like my old man. I'm gonna walk around yelling at people. I'm like, hey, these guys washed your feet off in the little bucket by the pool there before you got in the pool, and just like that kind of thing, and just like yelling at people, hey, who drank half this pop? So that was like just the way and it was like cracking everyone on set up, and my buddy Chris is like, that's funny as hell.
Is that when you just started displaying
I was just kind of like, it was always there. I was like, it's the impression I did of my dad whenever his back was turned, or at family functions, like, hey, do your dad. Yeah, it was like that. So I was doing it on set, and long story short on that, like, the web series came out, didn't really do much. And then just we were like, I was like, I was out in LA, and I'm like, what? I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know what to do. So I remember I was like, I need to go back and to my oasis and replenish. So I went back to Pittsburgh, and Chris and I were like sitting there, like we need to do something else. I don't know of any project we can do. Everything costs too much money. We can't afford a crew. Can't afford the equipment. So like and then this is right when the iPhone 3 came out. Okay. And I guess the camera quality had gotten a lot better than like an Android or whatever. She's like, well, I like the iPhone's, the camera's really good. Let's just go out and like that little character you do of your dad. We'll do like a little couple like internet videos, and we'll share them with our family. And so we roll down to the Goodwill. I pick out some awful clothes I think my dad would wear, because my parents were still living down south at the time. And I got some glasses down there, and we came back, and okay, well, here's the scenario. One is being in the pool, and yell to the kids in the pool. One is like telling like the kids are sledding, they're coming in the house. One's when the kids here's the little like they were putting the slip and slide in. Yelled at them for putting the slip and slide in the yard, killing the grass. Yep. So we did like 4 or 5, I think. And man, like we were like, okay, all right. So then he was editing it together, and I was like, oh, this is pretty funny. And then he put a laugh track to it, and it just was cracking us up. And throw them online. I'm like, okay, we'll share them and like make our parents laugh, or whatever. And
you just put them on Facebook, YouTube.
We started a little YouTube page. This is back 2011.
Okay.
And
so that's really at the, I don't want to say infancy stages, but earlier out.
Yeah,
whenever...
that was like whenever they were like, you had to partner up with YouTube before they were paying you and everything like that. And it kind of just like started getting passed around, and I went back out to LA, and he's I started seeing the numbers jump, and DVE was sharing it, and we had done a Steelers one. Steelers shared it. I'm like, oh shoot, man, then we have something here. Yep. I'm like, so he goes, come back out, and so spend more money, go to the plane ticket, go back out, film more, ton more, so we can like have a couple of weeks. So and then I went back, and then so the episodes were doing good and everything. And he's like, I think you just move back. We'll go full force with this. Yeah. And I had think I tapped out with LA anyway. I'm like, sounds like an idea. And then just got a one-way ticket, shipped my car, and moved back. And I had nothing again. Like I had to get rid of everything. So it was like starting over again.
And how old were you at that time?
32 or 33.
Okay.
So yeah, starting over once again. It just, and that that's always scary.
Yeah.
With nothing.
Especially when you compare yourself to other people your age that have been through school.
And you do, and you come back like, oh man, this person has this house and this nice car. They already have 2 kids, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah.
I have nothing. But it's scary. So we came back and kept it going.
Well, that's something I want to kind of stop and talk a little bit more about too, because a lot of the listeners on this are trying to do things, business, start or grow businesses. Mm-hmm. deciding, hey, do I want to start an actual project and create something, and different age bracket for everything. And I think a couple points, just the same point that you had when you moved out west to LA, and hey, I graduate and I'm going to just give it a try, right? It's the same situation here, and you're saying it's time for me to trust my gut based off of something that I feel these numbers on these videos are starting to grow, starting to gain traction. There's always that tipping point as an entrepreneur, business person, whatever it may be, where you then start saying, okay, I think something's happening.
Right, and you don't want to overlook that.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I don't know really what we can get out of this, but I trust myself.
Right. And you did the same thing. It's a scary as hell feeling.
Yeah.
Especially because it was to leave LA and didn't really make a dent. And like, if I come back to Pittsburgh and this does nothing, what am I going to do in Pittsburgh? You know, at least out there, people are like, "Oh, he's in LA. He's doing the acting thing."
Right.
And LA is like, it's a never land. You know, no one gets married. Everyone's still like drinking.
It's
like,
the craziest city in the country.
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. It's insane. But at least there you could hide behind the veil of everyone else's success, because they're like, "Oh, that's impressive. You're out there." Coming back here and not doing what you want to do, that would have been. Ugh. Then I was like, shoot, now I have to go back to. I don't know. So it's risky.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like you said, when you have a little something, a little flame, you know, throw some gas on that flame.
And that's the most important thing, and I think the most exciting thing about that in brand building or persona building or whatever you want to call it, even the business side, is you have to take nuggets of hope, and those nuggets of hope are essentially your financial currency at that time, because you know that you're at a certain stage in that opportunity that there's not really income coming from it.
Yeah. Your
hope is that in a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, that if this keeps trending in the direction that it is, obviously the money will eventually follow, and that financial side is typically the last part that actually happens. But again, going through those phases, and you know, they always talk about celebrities or athletes that are millionaires and billionaires and the most successful people now in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, and some of them didn't make it till they were 40 or 50. And that starting over side of things, it's a very difficult thing to grasp and understand. And you know, I always try to compare what I've gone through. And when I lost my job, I decided to drain my 401s, my IRAs. I lost everything, and basically started out at zero again, building this business. And, you know, at that point, my friends were all getting married. They're having kids. They're going on bachelor parties. I had to stop going on those because I couldn't afford them anymore.
Oh, that's the worst, when your friends would call you and say, "Hey, we got this trip going."
Yeah.
And they were already making money.
Yep.
Because I'm still I'm a broke-ass actor in LA. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
I come home for a wedding, and man, I was like, I'm tapped. I don't have any money for this.
It's tough to say that, right?
It is, and you know, there's a level of pride, and you know, your friends they'd totally back you, but you don't want to like say that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can I have money?
Yeah. Was that hard for you as well? I mean, did you go through a phase of?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I think if any type of artist will go through that, if you know you're doing what you love to do and you're not exactly rolling in the bucks, but you still want to be a part of society and culture and your friends, you got to be like, you gotta suck it up, man, and do what you gotta do.
And especially at that age in life too, right? It's a lot different if it's someone in their 40s or so, or later than that, that's starting something out. You know, you typically have some money, hopefully saved away to try something.
Right.
When you're in your late 20s, going through your early 30s, you know, that's still a prime age for a lot of people to be running around, running out and about, traveling, and going to events, dinners, and
absolutely.
And to tell people, no, I can't do this for whatever reason is a difficult thing to do. But I also think the power in that in itself is understanding that, hey, my pride is going to be put to the side. My ego is going to be put to the side. I respect and understand that you want me to be at these events or go things, but the best interest in myself, I know that I got to do this, and it's just a temporary commitment to get to those points.
Right.
And until I understood that, it was the first couple years or first year and a half doing it was difficult. But once you understand and you grasp that, then it just becomes part of, hey, I signed up for this. This is part of the process. It is what it is.
I'm still telling myself that it's nothing is steady in this game. I mean, you can have, it's like peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
You're always looking to grow, because if you're stagnant, you're not going to take the next level. So you're always looking to what's one avenue we haven't gone into yet? that we can, to grow the brand that we haven't thought of. And we were just like having a meeting about that the other day. It's like, so we can't just, sit here and liquidate it. We have to like think, where can we go next?
Yeah.
And once it's just like you said, that's what you signed up for. It's just what it is, and you have to remind yourself that.
We just talked at last week with a guest. Euresic labels the company, and they sponsor the fashion show every year. And they've been in business 52 years. And as I'm talking with one of the grandsons of the owner that started it, he's telling me about these processes now 52 years later that they're implementing change and just improving. And so I think it's just the evolution of growth and competing with your business or your persona, growing and grooming as society continues to grow.
Right, it's always changing.
Yeah.
And I have to just tell some of your listeners here, if they haven't seen the jacket that you made for the fashion show a couple years ago,
it was a good one.
For Pittsburgh Dad, it was a Terrible Towel suit jacket, and it just looked like the exact replica of the Terrible Towel. I get questions about that jacket all the time.
The problem is we can't produce it for $30. It costs, it's $600 jacket. So
people are like, I'll pay whatever it costs. I want to get married in that coat. But man, I post a picture of it
recently. You did,
and man, people are like, I gotta have that jacket. I gotta have that jacket.
Yeah, people went crazy over it.
That's okay.
Chris and I were actually talking earlier today. We had a video shoot for some training stuff we're doing, and we were actually, because of tonight, you came up in conversation, and that was the topic was whenever you posted and talked about it, the amount of people that were reaching out, at least to inquire a little bit about it or say they were interested in it was so. I appreciate you sharing and posting that. It was really cool to see, but then it goes back to the understanding of the Pittsburgh power that the city has. And what people love about being the black and gold here, so it
is, man. It's family. It's tradition and it's loyalty. It's like Pittsburgh's a little cult, man.
Yeah, it really is.
But we're always, what the best part is, we're always welcoming new members. Yeah. People say like, I just moved here a little bit ago, but my roommate, my wife, my husband, they got me turned on. We're watching your videos, so I know a little bit more now about the culture. I hope you don't get all your culture from my videos, because it's not all just about like guys in their 30s and 40s. And 50s like bitching and moaning at everything, but that's a big part of it.
They should put you on the headline of visitpittsburgh.com, and then that's the tutorial to how to become a Pittsburgh.
Don't come out here. We don't have enough people. You're not going to drive, man. If you can't drive in the snow and the rain, don't come out.
Or the bike lanes. We need you.
Oh, jeez. That's all we need. It ain't going to be happy to the whole turnpike is a bike lane, charging you $8, $20 here and a clip there. I don't know.
So once you started the videos and you said DV started sharing them, the Steelers started sharing them. What's next at that point? I know you obviously the big thing that I think maybe I'm wrong, but the big following started around the Steeler game reviews.
We didn't start the Steeler game reviews till like 4 or 5 years in, I think. Okay. But we got hooked up with the Turner's Dairy people.
That's right. Yep.
It was our first sponsor.
Great group.
They're homegrown product and great, family owned. Kind of were digging what we did and offered to sponsor us for a summer. For I don't know how many episodes we did, but and then they sponsored us next summer.
Was that your first paid?
Yeah, like first we were making Google had YouTube money, but pennies but so they were like, we're like, oh shoot, we can put logos in front and like product placement and really make an impact. And they sponsored us for a couple years, and then they did, and then we moved on, and we were just like kind of like freelancing it, getting a sponsor here, getting a sponsor there, and then we started the Steelers episodes. That really like kicked the ball rolling. Like we were talking about Steelers, but we were like, well, we'll just do every single game because I have something to say about every single game. So we did that, and that's been going on, and now we're with Iron City, and so.
How did the Turner's Tea influence the future for you, and from that opportunity to get sponsorship from them? I would assume that had to have been another light bulb for you, right?
It was like we could make money off of our views, for Google and YouTube. We were making money. I think we were selling merch of like Spreadshirt T-shirts. And I think we were selling DVDs, and then we were selling just
DVDs of your episodes.
After the first year, I think we made a DVD, and then glass, like cups and glasses, and then we just learned that we could sell the space in front of our shows, like that. Everyone's been doing it in TV and movies forever, so that was like big time. Like shoot, we'll sell that space, and then people were coming along. They're like, hey, we're interested in doing a full customized episode that we would share on our channel. So I remember like, shoot, a roofing company came along, like, I'll just do a whole episode about Dad getting a new roof, and then like all the bitching and moaning he's gonna do about that. So it's just became, you know, kind of like this symbiotic type of relationship with our sponsors, and it's been great. So because it's like what we discovered is there's with only one character, he's got something to say about everything. Yeah, and it doesn't matter what it is.
I think that's the beauty of it. And as I go back and think about my dad, there was something about every single thing.
That's Pittsburghers, man. Like you go, like even just go to the barbershop, and they're whatever's in the news, they're gonna talk about it, and it's gonna probably piss them off. Yep, and that's great. I don't want to go. I don't trust people. Here it is, David. If you go somewhere and you're not bitching and moaning about, I can't trust you. Yeah. Like, don't be like too positive around me. Of course. Because I'm like, what are you hiding?
What's the angle here?
I don't know. Nuh-uh. So that's always the thing. Like, if you're being open and honest with me, at least I know that you aren't coming from a nefarious angle or anything like that. So
it's funny. My dad. It's ironic that I'm in fashion because my dad, when I was in high school, I remember I bought a pair of white Air Forces, and I went home like a month ago, and this was 15 years later. And he has the same Air Forces that I left home. There's duct tape on the toes because they're so old and so worn, and he cuts the grass in those. So it's just a unique thing that either the older gentlemen do or the Pittsburgh or whatever the connection may be. But the fashion sense in the Pittsburgh Dads is not really the greatest either.
No, it's not. My dad, he had a fake pair of Jordans. He thought were like like the knockoff pair. You know when Jordans first came out, man, and he had like, I guess it was pony, like whatever, it was to look like Jordans. And he was like, "Those are great shoes. What are you talking about?" And at one point, he was rocking an engineer's hat. My mom goes, "Don't wear that damn hat in the store." He's like, "I think it's cool." That's not cool, man. My dad, he was. We had to shop at Gabe's. Like, so you're like, I don't know if everyone knows what Gabriel Brothers is. It's like, hey, they used to be able to find good deals there, but man, you got to search through all the holes and irregularities. So
we grew up on that. I mean, I have an older brother and older sister, and my mom actually grew up in the Homestead Munhall area.
That's where Chris grew up.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so he's straight up Munhall.
Yeah, so Gabe's is right down the street from there, and that's what I started. I was in first grade, and I got in trouble for selling candy. So what I would do as a side hustle of mine, I would go to Gabriel Brothers and buy a box of Skittles or Sour Patch Kids, and the box was like $1 total, and then I would go and sell each individual pack for 50 cents.
Nice.
So as I was clothes shopping for Gabe's and hopefully finding a shirt that was totally pieced together properly, I would always pick up candy to take to school and sell.
That's smart. We did. There was a kid who sold. Yeah, we had a couple of those kids. Like the one kid would sell the long Jolly Ranchers.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, I better bring my dime today. I don't have enough like foresight to like go buy my own before I come. It was you were one of those kids. I get it. Respect.
I started.
I was buying off you. Like,
I was the dealer.
Who's holding today?
Who's got the airheads today?
Oh my gosh! Get some of them Luden's cherry cough drops that aren't really for coughs, just candy.
Gabriel Brothers was a staple, and I know you mentioned it a few times. But we spent a lot of time. Yeah, and I think the gentleman's from Bell Vernon area. I think that started it, but they sold their company to. TJ Maxx or Marshalls or something like that.
That's why it's going downhill. It ain't the same like it used to be.
Yeah, I knew you'd be disappointed in that.
They used to, man, you go to, I remember finding they have Abercrombie stuff in there when I was in college. Like with one sleeve missed. Yeah, we'll just cut the sleeves off. Check it out, ladies.
The best was
I paid $2 for this. You think I paid $30?
The best were the jerseys that have one name on the front and a different name on the back.
I couldn't tell you how many ridiculous jerseys I bought from Gabe's.
Yeah,
because we also played a lot of football, like backyard football, and I had a Jeff George jersey that had like the number 1 here, and then it was like 16 George, and like it was. I don't even think the Falcon was on the sleeve. It was ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
just because they were like $5. So my mom's like, "Yeah, just buy a whole bunch." I'm like, oh, this is great, Mom.
No, it's very very similar childhood growing up with some of those things. So as the Steelers season, when you start doing the shows and you say, hey, I have an idea here. I talk about the Steelers all the time. Obviously, you're a big fanatic of them. Mm-hmm. I would assume so. That's kind of really what made you.
Yeah, it wouldn't work if I wasn't.
Yeah. So you just said, hey, I think I can take this acting that I'm doing now and just take it up a notch by focusing more on something that potentially there's a bigger audience to have appeal to? Did that thought process cross?
Yeah, it was. We had seen once again. You study what's working for you, and the episodes that did the best were the Steeler related episodes. So like, oh man, we're sitting on like 16 episodes a year, not to mention like the draft and training camp. And so like this is just a no-brainer, man. It's just we'll just talk about what went on in the game and anything Steeler related, and people dig it because it's such like like the NFL in general just dominates social media when it's like even in the draft of last week, it was just like or at least in mine.
Yeah, of course.
Because so it just was a no-brainer to really follow that direction. We still do a lot of other non-related or non-Steeler related episodes just because it's fun to get outside that zone again and do some traditional family stuff. But yeah, we're still doing the Steeler stuff and loving every minute.
Yeah. So as far as that, have the Steelers contacted you? Have you done anything directly with them over the years? Is there? I think the fashion show you've been a part of for them. Am I mistaken on that? Or
no, I haven't done. I did.
Or was it DVE was something for them?
We did your fashion show, but initially we got a call early on in our startup, and it turned out that Mike Tomlin was a fan of the show.
Okay.
And it was crazy. And he invited us up to camp one day. And man, like we got to go on the field, and I remember I'm like, he doesn't really like our show. There's no way Mike Tomlin likes our show. We were only like 2 years in, maybe a year and a half.
Which was early in his career too, right?
Yeah. Well, he was because
I
don't know, maybe like 6 years in his career,
Yeah.
something like that. I couldn't.
Yep.
Numbers don't.
I thought you were a Steelers fan, but I guess not. So
no, because like, well, how angry was I that game? No. So I'm like, he doesn't like our show. This is ridiculous. So like, I'm walking on the field and like on the field with the players and like, this is cool. Like, this is cool. Like, as they're practicing. And then I see him and then one of the handlers was like, hey coach, look who's here. He turns around. He's like, hey, what up? He's like, hey, Pittsburgh. I'm like, oh man, this is surreal right now. And like,
were you dressed like Pittsburgh Dad for that?
No, I think I was not.
You went with.
But then they let me. They were like, well, he doesn't mind if you ask him a few questions in character. I'd written questions, and he was a good sport. And we went a couple years in a row, and he just played along. I'd ask him ridiculous dad questions. He'd answer them, and I asked. They let me interview some players here and there, and it's just been crazy. Ben Roethlisberger came and filmed with us one day. Because we were supporting the same charity for the barbecue sauce company.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, I'll come up and do it. Had all his lines memorized. It was a trip, man. I'm like,
he did a good job at it?
Yeah. I was like, he's not going to memorize all these lines we wrote, right? He comes up, he didn't even he had them all memorized. I'm like,
kidding.
Okay, all right. He didn't we had a scene where he was going to eat a Klondike. He doesn't like eating Klondikes.
Okay, that's
so
disappointing.
I was like, what?
It's very un-American.
I'm like, well, I'll let you go because you did win 2 Super Bowls, but start gonna Klondike eating. But
cool.
It's cool. It's even to be remotely associated with them. Is neat.
Yeah. Have you done anything with any of the Mikey and Big Bob and like the radio stations or anything?
We used to do a lot more just like little segments with DVE. I haven't been up there in a while. And they're always cool. Like if you need to promote anything, they're like, oh, come on up. And we were promoting our Streetlight Stories movies. They let us come up, or like a new bobblehead, let's come up, or an appearance, let's come up. And then you just write a couple little segment bits and perform it, and it's fun.
So when I know you've been contracted out in different times to do like MC hosting type events and such, right? You've done a couple of those for corporations. Was that something that happened later? Was that something
that's earlier?
That's an earlier thing as well?
Yeah, it's weird because I feel like I'm not like a traditional stand-up comedian. I love stand-up. It's just, man, the anxiety you can get by just dead air if something doesn't hit. Doesn't sit well with me. Yep. Especially when you go to a corporate event and they have no idea who you are or like what kind of shtick you're doing, and they're not drinking. Not for me.
Yeah. Did you have an experience at some point?
Yeah, man, you're just up there and you're doing your thing, and it's just I couldn't even name the place, but you're just, and it's not hitting.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm getting paid, but it's not worth it to because you have to kind of cater your act to what's going on there. I don't know, but it just wasn't for me. But one time I did something for a Catholic church, and growing up Catholic, I'm like, I have everything like ready to go. I'm like, it wasn't like blasphemous, but they were howling. I was like, okay,
That's
okay.
It's usually how it goes.
It was great. That I don't know. That was one of the good times. But man, some of those other appearances when people don't know who you are, and then you get there, you're like, hey, why don't you just walk around and talk to people? I'm like, no, that's not what I do.
Is that what a lot of the times it would be? Was just
Yeah, because they didn't know. I didn't know what I was going to be doing. It was just like, hey, you want to come out here to make money? I'm like, yeah, because I have to make money. Of
course, yeah.
So then you start to feel it out. Like now you know what you can do, and then you talk about it like beforehand, like what you're comfortable doing. But back then I was taking anything.
Yeah.
Just showing up to weddings and I don't know.
So while we're on that topic, I mean, is there things that if any of our guests are listening, or any business owners that would like to have you, is there anything you're currently doing from those situations for different events whenever the world opens up here again?
It's once again, it's always okay to. I take a case to case situation.
Okay.
Sometimes something seems like a really good fit, and other times it doesn't. But it doesn't hurt to. We have contact information on our Facebook page and everything like that.
Good. And we'll put all that in the show notes at the end too, just to kind of make sure that people have a way to contact you and your team and everything. You mentioned earlier about potentially you not being good at stand up from a standpoint of the judging.
I've done stand up, I just wasn't very good at it.
That's what I wanted to kind of pick your brain on. How often was that? How long ago was that?
I did it in college a little bit. Towards the end of my college, just tried it out. I did it a couple times in LA. It's not that I didn't like writing it. It's just for certain comedians, it just kind of flows. It's just part of on stage. It just flows out. Where I would treat it like a theater experience. Like I have to have everything memorized,
right?
And like I have to go, and that's just not. And not like in a play, you're like, oh shoot, everything. We're a team, and if someone like falls in or picks you up, like in terms of line. But I just couldn't. It's just I don't know. It didn't flow for me as well. But I loved writing it. I knew I liked writing the jokes. I liked trying to hone them. And that's when we do Pittsburgh Dad. It's like it's such a perfect fit because we can write the jokes. I can do a take and go, no, I don't like it.
Yeah.
I'll do it again. So like I don't have that pressure where it's like, oh, it's live and I have to like. It's
a different beast
to be all by yourself and doing that.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, and that's kind of peeling back the layers a little bit too, and kind of comparing this to an entrepreneurial journey that you're in, and you look at things and as you're trying to create a path for yourself, it's always unique to figure out where you fit in there, right? Even from a business owner standpoint, you may think that you want to grow a business one direction, but maybe your skill set doesn't suit for that. Maybe it's a different direction or a third direction. And I think that's the same thing. You're literally clearing that out is, hey, I had an opportunity being a comedic person to go a couple different directions. For you personally, that one of those isn't your route, and that's okay, because look what you've been able to do by going a completely different route and almost creating a whole different platform.
It really is, because it was a platform that what we were doing is it wasn't being done, so there was no like template of how we should follow, so you really had to follow your instincts and sometimes do things that made you feel uncomfortable just to maybe open up a door that you didn't even expect. And that's anything when you're growing a brand. So
yeah, I think that's the fun part too. A lot of the times, the unknown of what you're doing is kind of the rush of building this as well. And even for us, a couple years ago, we didn't have enough knowledge or cash flow to understand, hey, next month we're at zero again. I paid all my bills and now I have more bills that are still coming and we have no sales this month.
All right.
And I think that's the unique thing about the mindset of somebody in your position and my position and creating something is, again, going back to what we said earlier, was just the trust of figuring it out.
Right.
And some way, somehow, whenever you just focus and continue to work and continue to put effort forth into that practice or that craft, it seems to always work itself out, even some of the darkest times.
Right. Even you're just looking for the next, the next step, and you just got to keep your eyes open. For instance, one time Chris and I were at the Comic-Con. I like
the Pittsburgh one.
Yeah. I like Comic-Cons. I love that kind of stuff. I like to go and walking around, and one of the vendor guys. Well, he had a Back to the Future time machine DeLorean, fully like exact replica of the movie. Like, well, that's really cool. And he's like, hey, does everyone use that for a Pittsburgh Dad? I'm like, what can we use that for? I'm like, we'll make it work.
Absolutely.
Chris and I were like, we don't care. We're gonna. So we went. Immediately went off. wrote a script, like to have Dad with this DeLorean, which doesn't make any sense in the universe. And the guy shows up with it. We got we actually hired the film crew to help us really make it look good, and that's just what it is. It's like it just came out like, yeah. Anytime someone's like, "You want to use this?" Yeah, we'll make it work. Yeah. Because we know certain things are going to amp up our production value and give us a little bit more clout. Like I don't know, just like one time we were at Kennywood filming, and the Pirate Parrot comes. I'm like, it's just I don't know what I'm going to do, but I don't care if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I'm just you try. Yeah. Oh, I'm like hitting the mic.
No, that's all right. So I think that's what I want a lot of the listeners to really gauge and understand here. You have somebody that is creating something from complete nothing and just really creating an idea, a vision, carving the path to get there. And every single episode that we filmed, every single episode that we've recorded, all the guests that have come on, it's the same story, just told differently. Mm-hmm. And that's the beauty in this. And that's the real goal for me, even wanting to do the podcast and sharing the story of the common threads, the commonalities between me building my fashion brand and business as an entrepreneur and the guests that come on here and the guests that listen is there's no secret sauce in any of this stuff whatsoever. There's really not. And sometimes
if I could sell the secret sauce I would. Okay.
But you can't.
It's not, I don't really have it. It's ever changing landscape for us, man.
How rewarding is it though? I mean, to your journey thus far, knowing what you've accomplished, and I would assume without even hearing your answer, but you're not anywhere near where you want to be or where you want to go.
I mean, I still feel like there's much more to give. I don't feel like it's tapped out at all. I feel like there's still plenty of road left that we can go down, and it's very rewarding, man. And the thing is, like our fans, and I love just reading comments. Like after whatever episode we do, I live for. We post it. And I'm like, okay.
Do you interact with people on that?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I'll sometimes I'll go in as Dad and they'll say a comment, and the beauty part of our show and the comments is most of the comments are nice. Yeah, I would say over 90%. Yeah, we don't get a lot of little troll haters, and I know I know a lot of other YouTubers that's all they get.
Yeah, which is such a stupid mindset.
That sucks.
Yeah,
and then because you got to scroll through that to get to the good stuff, and the worst part is when you're scrolling through everything, the crappy ones can kind of be hard to get over. Yeah. But that's life on the grid like that. Yeah, man.
I've done a couple different things. One, I created something that I call the smile file, and I keep that in my email. So anytime I get positive feedback from somebody, or
that's cool.
It's the most rewarding thing ever, and I just literally keep it there because there are times where I still get the messages, and I'm sure you do too. And I don't understand how somebody could be that upset with their own life to make them want to reach
to put that negativity out in the universe. I'm like, I stopped posting. I mean, I'll read, but man, as myself, yeah, I don't post anything anymore. Whereas initially it was such a carefree world when Facebook and Twitter okay, I like this. Now I'm like, yeah, I don't set myself up for any attacks.
Yeah. Well, what I've learned through this whole process too is I've just accepted the fact that will always be there. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how good of a person you are. It doesn't matter how many people you help. It will never be enough. There's always going to be those people out there. And where I've kind of shifted my mindset is, okay, as much as I try not to let it bother me, most of it doesn't. Sometimes it gets to you for a couple of days and then it is what it is. But I just simply feel bad for those people. Because if you're upset with yourself and your situation that much that you have to put another human being down,
they're projecting. Yeah. It's not about you. Yeah. I get it. But it's still hard. It's not a younger people. If you're watching this, don't go out there and flood your accounts with negativity because, man, they could come back and haunt you.
Yeah, and it really does. And I mean, think about how small the world is, right? And we talked about earlier on with Pittsburgh people in LA finding you and connecting the dots there. And there's so many people that have come out of the woodwork as I've been building this for the last 6-7 years. And people that I never thought would have wanted to help or wanted to be a part of this or wanted to connect me with somebody. And they're people that I just haven't seen since high school, middle school, whatever it may be, or somebody that I don't know that is a friend of a friend that heard something. And that's what's really cool is you just got to keep plugging forward and you just got to keep doing what's right and believing in yourself and ignoring all the other bullshit. Because the more successful you want to become and the more you put your out there, you're just prone to being attacked more. And that's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, more money, more problems.
That's right. I think Diddy was onto something.
Exactly.
Or Puff Daddy at the time.
Me back to my senior year in high school.
So as you're continuing to go from here, I mean, it's you and Chris is your business partner for the project, and you guys have a team of freelancers that you piece things together with.
Yeah, so when the productions become bigger, we have hire a crew when we need it, and so most of the time it's just him and I, which really helps us streamline it and get it done fast.
Of course.
Like we just shot an NFL draft reaction video, and I mean it took a little longer because we go off on tangents, man.
Yeah.
Like it's like we'll have the script, and we'll write the script, and then it just a line will go. Listen, we're talking about Najee Harris, the first round draft pick, and all of a sudden we're into this Gabe's rant. I don't understand. I don't know where we get.
How did we get here from here?
It's weird how like the brain works when we're filming. It's just like, oh, go. Then we're like, okay, get back on the road. Get like the jokes we wrote out, and then it's a fun, man. It's a fun process.
Is he a funny person as well?
Oh yeah, he's got he's written a lot of the comedy himself too. So
yeah,
we both laugh at the same type of content. Yep. So that's all. I mean, that helps. So you can't like create comedy with someone and they don't have the same sense of humor as you.
Yeah. Talk to me about the process of putting these shows together. I mean, how long, obviously it's just dependent on the flow that you have and all that stuff, but what's the process? You watch a Steeler game on a Sunday, you go Monday. I mean, you edit the videos or pop them out pretty quick.
Yeah. Like the Steeler season, you really want to hit hot. You want to film Monday morning. And then get that sucker up maybe Monday evening, latest Tuesday.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm starting when I'm watching a game. I'm like, I sometimes, okay, for instance, you'll like a team, like you'll be playing the Patriots, and I'm like before the game is on, I'm like, I have shit to say about the Patriots.
Yeah. So you put a list of
I'm writing jokes and they haven't even played the game yet. I'm like, oh shoot, I have a page of jokes and I haven't even had any content from the game. Chris is like, we haven't talked about the game. I'm like, I'm like these are the I want to bitch about this. So so you and then when the game's on, I'll start writing. I'm having a couple beers. It's really flowing.
Yeah. And
then so then I'll hand the script over to Chris, and then he'll do some editing and he'll put his spin on it. And the next morning you wake up, man, you just get everything ready and blast it out, and Chris go back and edit it, and it's a whirlwind. But other scripts, they'll just be like floating around in my head or Chris's head, and you're like, okay, and then you just kind of take your time with them. And you maybe it takes a week to write it, maybe it takes 2 weeks because you just really want to give it. There's no pressure to get it out there because it's just floating around, and those are just different beasts altogether. And there's episodes like the Back to the Future one. It's like a full-fledged production, or Streetlight Stories. That's we have to hire tons of people, but we've run the gamut in terms of how fast and how long, and it's crazy.
Do you guys watch the games together a lot or ever?
We do. It's funny, and then the season starts, and then they start to play at night. I'm like, like all tired, but if it's like on a Sunday 1:00, if those are good games just to watch with each other. Otherwise, it's like, no.
Has that become a family or a some form of a consistency where you have a group of people that come together?
It was before COVID.
Yeah.
It was totally, we'd be all in Chris's basement, and his wife, my wife, and a couple of his friends would come, and we'd all just sit down, and that actually makes it better because sometimes I can sit back and see how other people are responding. I'm like, I'm just writing down what you said.
What other these yinzers are doing?
If there's a yinzer in the room, like sometimes every now and then I'll go to a bar when it was open. I'm like, I'm just gonna write. I straight up will write down what people say.
Yeah.
And I'll datify it. But I'm like, that's gold.
Did people recognize you, and did they, whenever you would do things like that, or
people sometimes, I'm pretty much, I can blend in and out. Some people have a good eye for seeing me without my garb on, and other people don't. Nowadays with masks, no one recognizes me at all. So it's like I'm like stealth. But if I'd be at the game, like actually go to the game and I have sunglasses on, tassel cap, hood, and they're like, I'm like, I don't know how you did it. Now I have to go say hi.
Yeah,
you did it. So can't wait to get back there and start tailgating again.
Yeah. Did you go to a lot of the games then?
With Iron City, we were doing promotions at the games, with they were giving out free beers and having like grilled, just taste the product, and those were fun, man. It would be like hundreds of people stopping by. You talk to people, and that's like my environment.
Yeah,
drinking beer, having like grilled food, talking Steelers. Yep. Oh my gosh, that's
it's
like
heaven for you.
It is. It's totally heaven. So hopefully get back to some of that this coming fall.
Yeah. Well, I think they announced at the end of last year or earlier this year that all the games, I guess it's statewide or state dependent, but 100% capacity with the NFL was allowing that for the fall season.
I hope so.
Yeah, man. I do too.
And I hope they don't, because I think the Pirates don't let you tailgate right now.
No, they don't.
I don't go to games unless I can tailgate.
Yeah, it takes away a little bit.
You know, in LA, you can't even tailgate at a Dodgers game.
I did not know that.
I roll up first week in living in LA, and they're playing the Pirates. I'm like, oh, I'll go down to Dodger Stadium. Never been there. Roll up, bring the cooler out, the grill. And there's me and my roommates, and the guy, whoa, what are you doing? I'm like, what does it look like? I don't know. Was this a trick question? Can't tailgate, guys. I'm like,
what's the reasoning for that?
I guess there's so many people had overdid it, and it's just too many problems.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I guess I'll just drink in my car then.
And then I'll walk in belligerent.
I have a case of beer here, and I'm not gonna pay $12 for a beer. I was broke at that time. It's like, you think I'm gonna walk into a baseball game without a buzz? You're crazy.
No, of course.
That was fun.
So how much has technology changed the way that you operate? I mean, you mentioned earlier about the iPhone 3 when you guys first started, right? Now there's all these editing tools. The phones continue to improve. I mean, that's a blessing for someone like you that wants to.
I mean, initially it was as the new iPhone model would come out, Chris would buy the new iPhone model, and it would get a little better. He has bought a legit camera now. We've for like Snow. You've noticed like in the last 2 years, it looks like film now.
Yeah, of course.
So it's just a lot easier because iPhone settings reset and everything like that, and it's very temperamental. There'd be times we'd be outside with the camera and it'd overheat because it's 90 degrees. And your phone would overheat and it just shut down.
Yeah. So from a tech standpoint as a whole, even from us building a business, and there's a lot of things that you can do, edit on the fly. There's different things with the audio, the visual effects of that stuff. Do you guys do things through whether it's a Adobe Shop or whatever it would be, or how does he handle?
He's the tech guy. I know he edits. Is he at Final Pro? I don't know.
Probably that, I would assume.
He's Chris is like, if all his projects, man. If you've watched the Mercury Man or his Echo Torch film, he's really good at special effects.
Yeah,
he's got a real talent for it. So Pittsburgh Dad is a breeze for him. It's like second nature now.
Yeah.
He's like and it's hard because you also have to. You're not just editing. You're editing the comedy, the tempo, and if you don't do that right, you can just you can once again it's like you be on stage and the joke just doesn't hit.
Yeah. Well, I noticed this. The way your videos flow throughout from the beginning to the end, and they are literally bouncing from boom, boom,
like jump
boom,
cuts.
boom. Yeah.
Because you only have so much time, and you don't ever want to go over like 3 minutes because it's online content.
Was there a lot of time for you to figure that out to get a flow down in the beginning stages? Has that changed much at all? From
the whole way we filmed, we used to film it a long shot and a close up, and then do longer takes and not so jumpy. But now it's just watch the trends, and Chris is pretty good at online trends and seeing how other YouTubers are doing it, because you don't want to be you want to keep up with that. Otherwise, you're living like the Amish in the YouTube world. You can't it. So it's you always adapt.
Yes. So as far as what you guys are currently working on now, obviously with COVID, 15 months ago, 16 months ago, really starting the shutdown, and events being pulled, sporting events being pulled, all those things, has that opened your eyes to shifting anything differently for the future? Or is it more or less just, obviously with the Steeler games, you could do that stuff from home. There's certain things you're going to be...
It's actually... compared to a lot of other people with their jobs and you had to shift gears really quickly with your business, but we were fortunate enough to be able to still film because it's just the two of us, and Chris lives next door to me.
Yeah.
So it's like boom, they should come over. Like, well, okay, we only can have this location, so we'll just it's my base. We'll have to do it in here, and so okay, this will be it.
Yeah.
So it's just once again adapting, and and you did the same thing, and that's the key to your business, your startup business, and your brand is you just don't know what the world is going to throw you, and then just keep adapting and shifting gears, and hopefully you can continue to succeed.
Yeah, I think that's the fun part about all this stuff. Being the leader, visionary behind what you're trying to create is, look, if you fail, it's on you. It's not on anybody else.
Right.
And, I mean, that's super vital for the success, and that's why it's worth trying as many things as you could possibly try, if it makes sense and within reason of your objective. And I think that's a lot of the advice that I try to give somebody. And what you said earlier is just fucking try and go out there and do something.
Yeah, you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times we did episodes and we thought they were funny and they
Have you had some bombs?
Yeah. I thought they were funny. And it's just the way it is, man.
Yeah.
But I'm still proud of them. I don't regret putting them out there because I go back and like, that's still funny. Maybe when I'm dead, that will be funny.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like that kind of thing.
So any of the stuff that you feel that the feedback wasn't as good as
Right.
that you would want, were there things that you look back and said, okay, maybe they were right, or because I've had a lot of failures where I've been like, okay, I'm glad I did it. I learned from it. Right? Is there anything from that?
It's just, I guess, knowing your audience, and it's just kind of the good thing and the bad thing is we have a great audience, but they're conditioned to you give them a certain product every week, and if you go too far out of that boundary with your product because you're trying to explore, they'll let you know. You got to bring it back in. So it's I'll give you an example. We've done 2 streetlight stories now, and they're from. I mean, these are the passion projects. They're legit pieces of cinema in my opinion. Full cast. The showing the family, recreating the years 1987 and 1989.
That was the one you started doing recently, right?
We did. We've done them over the last 3. Last year we premiered one before the pandemic in February, and then 2 years before that we premiered one. But here, I mean, here's the examples. So the time and energy, and actually legit scripts and legit production over 3 days, filming and then editing, like a legit production company downtown. So proud, you make it, you set up the scene, you make it look like 88. You tell a heartfelt story, and this will be great. And it's no knock on like our fans, but you put it out there, and in a Steeler review, you did in 6 hours gets like 100,000 more views. I'm like, but you're like, I have no hang-ups. I'm glad we did it because it needed to be done.
Yeah.
We still have to do one more, and it's just.
How do you handle that? Because when you're judging what you're doing and you're judging the success of that, obviously there's a goal to get as many people to see it and like it and want to be.
I don't look at it as like a failure, because I feel I still am very passionate about that. Just as Chris, those films, I'm like, okay, well, maybe it just has to get into different. Like maybe this is like a branch that puts us into the next stratosphere, and I don't know how to. We don't have all these big Hollywood connections, so we're just, but you always keep putting the content that you're passionate about out there, and something hopefully will stick.
Yeah. Well, and that's the fun part about that too, and that's basically just like an expansion of trying to do something different with a business, right? You have it really dialed in for a specific type of person in Pittsburgh with a lot of the Steeler videos and everything. So you already have a good litmus test for, hey, this is going to work for this audience.
Right.
But as we talked about before, you have to expand that network and you have to expand things. So by expanding something you're currently working on, naturally some people are going to be off put by it because they're going to want something that they're used to.
They want the familiarity,
yeah,
the comfortability, being comfortable with the product they've come to know.
Exactly.
And I accept that because I'm like that with my shows.
Yeah, but then at the same time, as the entrepreneur, I have to grow.
I have to see where that's always like, how else can we put this character out there and maybe for a wider audience?
Yeah.
But still being loyal to the roots of it. That's always. We were talking about that today. I'm like, what's the next step?
Yeah.
Like, what can we do? How can we get it out there bigger, badder, stronger?
Yeah. Is there any hints, tips, or anything you have coming on that you guys have really been working on, or?
No, just using the connections that we have, which is so important. Like anyone that you've come across and can help you reach out.
Yeah.
Because that's your network is the only way you're gonna get any bigger.
Yeah, of course.
So that's just it's hard, man, because it's a one-man show, and we've talked about maybe doing, we can't do it now, but like a theatrical performance where it's more of a Dad one man show where it's him talking to the audience as if the audience was his neighbor, and and doing a whole downtown, like you ever watch The Chief?
I was just going to reference
yes
that was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and when I went to see that show, we both got free tickets, Chris and I'm like, wow, I think there's something here. Yep. And then how can we tap that? So I mean, there's a script. So I don't, it's one of those things, and then COVID, and so no one's going to the theater. And
I think that's such a unique position too, because you offer something that's so creative and so powerful for especially everybody in our region, right? With the Pittsburgh Dad side of things. And as you were talking about going that direction, I instantly went to The Chief, because I sat back and I was just like, I didn't know what to expect going into that. And
I didn't really either.
I was blown away.
I was crying at the end.
Yeah.
I was like, when he was talking about the Immaculate Reception, and I was like, and it was in the theatrics of like the score. I'm like, keep it together, keep it together, keep it together. And then I'll be I cry. Like my wife's always like, are you gonna cry? I'm like yeah.
Well, you got a sensitive heart, man.
Oh man, I bought every stupid movie that I shouldn't. I don't know. That's just me.
No, I think, well, that's just obviously the passion that you have as a person. I'm very similar. I cry a lot over things, and like it or love it, it is what it is. It's part of putting emotion and passion in everything that you do.
Yeah, it's a good point. I probably cried a couple times over an episode. What's wrong with these people? Why don't they like me?
So moving forward here, we're at the tail end of hopefully the pandemic and everything. At least the light is at the end of the tunnel in some capacity. It seems that way.
That's from my perspective. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. So what's the next 6 months of the year entail for you? Is there anything that you have coming up that's solidified already? Is it just kind of the same thing?
I want to get out again. I think my biggest thing is like interacting with fans really is almost like an energizer, like those tailgates, or like when we do an appearance at a con or anything. I hopefully this summer we can get out there and do it again. So we can I want to talk again to people who are like, come up and they say things. They'll say a nice thing about the show, and then they'll tell you a nice thing that like something like maybe it helped their grandma. Like I need to, that's it also like it really jazzes me to hear that kind of stuff and just be around people and hear the stories and hear how they grew up. And I'm looking forward to that, because being at home, isolated, away from everyone, not talking like that. I mean, it's a hindrance to anyone who wants to be creative. I'm like, I can only get so much from like watching Netflix and Amazon. I want to get out and meet people again. Because that's really, truly what life is all about, is the interactions with other people and the relationships that you build. And I think that's a big proponent of why we've been successful. And I'd hate to not get out there and see that again.
Yeah, I think that's the power in building things too, is the opportunity to engage with people, interact with people, get their live feedback on who you are, what you're doing.
And live theater, it's just, I watch those guys who, you're wrestling. I'm like, how are you doing it without an audience?
Yeah.
And then the audience is like feeding off that crowd.
That's been great watching some of those guys. Obviously, you've had a chance to meet a handful at the fashion show and everything, and it is crazy to watch that unfold as well. And it's the same type of, it's the live entertainment that it's a TV now sitting there watching you versus human beings putting their heart and emotion into something.
Oh man, it's a sports everything. It's just that live when you do theater, it's like you're doing like. Every time I did a theatrical show, and we'd go through your rehearsals and your tech week, and then you're doing it for like the 5th time without an audience, and then finally you get that audience, and it just comes to life. And I just feel for all the performers out there who can't, like, who are doing it and don't get to, like, whether it's just athlete or a pro wrestler or even an act, you don't get that, or a musician. Yeah. You need that live audience. It's like that's
where the creativity comes from and the motivation.
It's just an energy that you can't recreate by, just reading comments and shit.
So we, I want to wrap things up here and kind of, honor the time that you've carved a side for us. So I appreciate you being here and everything.
Don't worry, I live right up a road. It ain't that big a deal.
Well, we're going to put your address in the show notes too, so everybody can come by.
I have to go. He made me go down 51 during 6 o'clock traffic. Okay.
6 o'clock pandemic traffic. No, this isn't.
Now, don't qualify it with pandemic. There's still traffic, okay? And it was raining.
That's true too. So hopefully we'll see you at the fashion show this year.
Oh, yeah, man.
It looks like we're gonna cross my fingers. I think we're gonna be able to pull it off this year.
That's always a blast, man.
It's been so cool to see you help out with that, man, and to have someone with a big name like you do and the heart that you do to be involved in these things, especially for the charities and the kids that we raise the money for.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. It's and look, you putting that event together, man. That's it gets bigger every year and it gets better every year. And it's going to be bigger and better this year. So
we'll put a hint out or just say it, but we're going to shoot for the Clemente Bridge this year. And that's kind of the...
don't complain. It's always shut down to the Pirate games anyway.
Or Picklesburg. So
right, seriously.
But yeah, so hopefully we'll see you there again.
Oh, heck yeah,
this year,
man.
as always.
That's free. I think there's free booze there, right?
There's free booze, free food.
Yeah,
and
free, that's all you got to do.
And a free suit for you. So we'll do that.
I don't even know if I fit in the suit you made me anymore. I don't know, man.
Is it the COVID weight, or is it was it a bad measurement on my end?
No, it was just, like he makes it so tailor-made for your body that I don't know. COVID might have. I'm afraid to put it on.
Well, we could adjust it if you need it. So
I'd
let
be
me
embarrassed
know.
to come down. I can't even fit. No, fat guy in a little coat. No,
that's how it's been for me too. So
it's just I don't know. I try to keep up with it, but I don't know.
Yeah, is there? I always like to end the show with leave a few pearls for people out there. I mean, you have people out there on a daily basis that are hey, I'm at the edge of my seat. I want to make the transition. I want to jump. I want to do something. Leave us with, your thought process on how rewarding it's been from the personal growth, from the career growth, from the family growth, all the things that you can encompass in the successful ride that you've had, and how rewarding it's been by just trusting yourself and giving it a go.
I mean, no, I'd like to sit here and write something more profound. It is. If you are on the cusp and you're ready to make the jump, don't wait another day.
Yeah.
And it's true. And it's. I'm gonna tell you, it's like you'll lay in bed and you'll lose sleep because you're worried. You're always gonna worry about money. You're always gonna worry about am I gonna be okay? You're gonna be okay. As Chris always says, hey, God makes enough food and air for all the birds and animals in the world. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
So just trust. I honestly trust your instincts. You only get one trip around this rock, and make friends and be around people, because you can't do it alone. Yeah. So,
and that's the most powerful and amazing thing about this whole thing is, through the journey, and I would assume you can attest to this, you meet some of the most amazing people that you could ever meet. You meet some of the most supportive, most caring, and some of the best people that I've become friends with, that have built long-lasting friendships and relationships with, all by just chasing a dream and trying to figure things out and make your life better.
And surround yourself with those people. Yeah. And then sometimes you meet assholes.
Oh, they're all around all the time.
It's not all going to be like the greatest thing in the world, but you got to get past that, because you'll find the good people. Well, I thank you a lot, man. I appreciate the friendship more than anything, and very excited to continue to watch you flourish and you grow and continue to do amazing things. And thank you for being a part of what you do in the Pittsburgh community. Thank you for what you do. You're making us look better.
Yeah,
literally, because except it's purple. This is a Ravens color here. What are you doing?
And the black, and I got black on. So, hey, thanks so much, Curt. I appreciate you a lot, man.
No, absolutely. Great to be here.
All right, guys. Hey, tune in next week. We appreciate you guys, and we'll have some information in the show notes for you guys. Thanks, and have a great week.